Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Very good. Just, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So we're interviewing you, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, maybe about you a little bit.
Us?
And, I don't know. What could we talk about? I have many things to talk about.
Let's talk about situation in North Vietnam.
Yeah, sure.
This is just one of the castles that we own. We have 15 more, don't we? I can't remember. I've given up counting. As you can see, nice view over the ARTE there, the river. This is a very old structure. And as you can see, this on the floor here, this is some kind of old artifacts here. Yeah, this is probably early 16th century. And we'll move on. Every band I've been in, you know, from the old days, I've always been dressed up as something. I started as a musketeer. Then I went on to be a crusader. And then at another time, I was part of the Roman Empire. And I was dressed in a toga.
And the outlaws? And
the outlaws are dressed up as a cowboy. A couple of the bands are dressed up as a woman, but we won't go into that.
You didn't tell me about that.
No. And I used to play on stage when I was 16 and 17 with Screaming Little Such. We used to run on stage from the audience as savages. We were called the Savages. So again, I was dressed up as a, in a loincloth. And it was very embarrassing because back in those days, I was very thin and very bony. The rest of the band were all built like, you know, muscle builders. So we'd run on stage and I'd always feel embarrassed because I had this little outfit on. And, but you learn by your mistakes. Screaming Little Such taught me everything I know about showmanship on stage, about how to move and project. To me, it's like dressing up is all part of, it's not even dressing up. To me, I feel very relaxed in this clothing, much more so than a baseball hat and long shorts or something, you know, that everybody else wears.
Aujourd'hui, Ritchie prend son pied dans ses bottes fourrées et son costume de Merlin l'Enchanteur. Depuis 10 ans maintenant, il a rangé au placard les décibels pour s'adonner à la musique renaissance avec sa muse et compagne Candice. À eux deux, ils ont donné naissance au groupe Blackmore's Night.
Greensleeves was the first tune that made me sit up and think, oh, I feel an affinity here. This is moving me. I would always play this music to myself or just listen to it. And this would be 1973, 74. And if I was in the hotel, I would play this music, you know, as we were traveling. Yeah, on stage, I'd be playing rock and roll. And so it was slightly incongruous, but there again, there is a relative common factor, because if you're playing Renaissance music, some of the harmonic structure is in fourths. Now, for instance, Smoke on the Water is played in fourths. That could be a shawm kind of a riff. For instance, you've got, you know... Now, if you're playing that in fourths, you have the...
Seuls les 4 accords de Smoke on the Water symbolisent le hard rock des 70s. Sur le plateau du California Jam en 74, l'un des plus énormes festivals jamais organisés, plus de 275 000 spectateurs applaudissent le plus grand riff de l'histoire du rock. De 68 à 75, Deep Purple est le méga groupe du heavy metal. En 5 albums, ils vendent près de 100 millions de disques et colonisent les premières places des charts américains et anglais. Pour eux, c'est la vie de château. Une formule parfaite qui doit beaucoup à son principal instigateur, Ritchie Blackmore. Child in Time, Speed King, Highway Star prennent une dimension mythique grâce à sa virtuosité à la 6 cordes. Ses performances soniques explosent alors toutes les limites connues. Un savoir-faire qu'il doit à ses parents anglais et à une grand-mère qui adorait le jazz et une chanson de Peter de Rose intitulée Deep Purple.
When the deep purple falls over sleepy garden walls.
Mother was a gypsy, and she used to put spells on people. And I learnt all these curses and superstitions, you know, how to read people's minds. And my father worked at the airport. He was like a draftsman. My father brought me my first guitar because I just whined and said, I want that guitar, it's in the window. And he got it for me when I was 11, and it cost him 7 guineas. He said, if you don't learn this instrument, I'm going to break it over your head. Whenever I used to go to my music lessons, I would carry my guitar and on my bicycle. So I'd be steering with one hand and the guitar would be under here, and it would often be snowing and I would fall off in the snow. So I would arrive kind of bleeding and things. And he was an interesting guitar teacher because I think he was more interested in making beer. And once I got there, and the whole place was flooded in beer. And he said, I can't give you a lesson today because all my beer has popped open. And so I'm thinking, oh, well, I'm now got to get back on my bicycle in the snow, fall off the bicycle on the way home. It was kind of a routine. When I was growing up, like any other 15 or 16-year-old, I was very impressed by speed. I was listening to Les Paul, Django Reinhardt, people like this, and I would try to emulate them. And I thought speed was, to be a good musician, you had to be very fast. Many guitar players today are caught up in that speed trap. They're just trying to impress the guitar player in the front row. You can never really impress that guitar player because he's either jealous that he can't do that or he thinks he can do better. They often say, how many guitarists does it take to play a guitar solo? It actually takes 17. Because there's the one guy that plays the solo, and the other 16 say that they could have played it faster. And that fast thing is out of control. You know, it's a bit like having sex in 2 seconds. It doesn't really make it, you know? I don't know if you've ever had sex in 2 seconds.
I read somewhere that you slept with your guitar.
I thought you were going to say that you slept with your guitar teacher. That's what they do today, isn't it? They sleep with the teachers, yeah. We never had that in those days, and I'm glad we didn't, because it was a man. I used to sleep with the guitar under the bed, yes, and because it was such a beautiful-looking instrument. You know, I'd look at it every day, and it was just a marvelous thing. And I think I've often told people this. You know, it's shaped in such a way. It's a bit like a woman, I suppose.
Ritchie a le coup de foudre pour l'Allemagne dès ses premiers concerts à Hambourg.
That's where we keep our cats. We have 1,400 cats. No, we don't. Cats are always with us inside. But that's the horses. As you can see, you know, if you look at the castle, it's a great view, isn't it?
Yeah.
To see that castle up there. In the first time I came here was in 1963, although it feels like 1563. And I was with Jerry Lee Lewis, and we played the Star Club. And I came back 6 months later with Gene Vincent. First time I met the Deep Purple members, I was living in Germany, and I would go to the Star Club in Hamburg very often to watch the bands. And there was this one band I saw called The Maze that had this incredible drummer, and it was Ian Pace. He would just play amazing stuff. So afterwards, I said to him, would you join my band if I have a band to put together? And he would just say, definitely, where's the band? And I would say, I haven't got it yet, but I'm going to remember you when I do get the ideas together. And so a year later, I tracked down Ian Pace when I was offered a lot of money to put together a band by this particular multi-millionaire, Tony Edwards. He said, I met him through John Lord, and he said, can you please put together a band? I want to have a pop band. I said, well, I can find the right musicians, but you'll have to pay them, you know, each week. And he said, oh, I can do that. And I said, oh, yeah, you'll have to buy equipment too, Marshall amplification and what have you. So he said, yes. I used to drink a lot. I don't drink any less. You know, I don't drink any more. Or is it the other way around? I don't drink any less. I drink more. What is that joke? And it was hard at the time. Playing on stage was the easy part. It was the traveling. Got to me. One of the reasons I left Deep Purple was I couldn't take the traveling. We'd be in Japan, Australia, to, you know, South America, and it was just all too much for me, all the time. And there was never a rest period. So consequently, a lot of us went down with hepatitis and all sorts of diseases because we couldn't keep up with the strain of things. Now, with this project, it's quite funny because we'll do 2 dates and take 4 days off. And it drives the promoter crazy. And he's saying, look, you could do, you know, 6 days in a row. And I went, not really. I'm not here to play for money anymore. I'm here to play for my health and my music. It's not about money anymore. Thankfully, I managed to salvage money from the old days, and I kept it a secret from the management.
Revolution, you're back at your time?
No,
time?
not at all. For me, I was just trying to kind of make some money from music, and which is kind of difficult, you know, sometimes. It's like an actor. You know, money comes and goes as a musician, so you have to try and store it. The biggest problem I had was taxation. I left England, you know, back in the 70s because taxation, because of bigger government, wanted to have 82% of my earnings. And to me, that was ridiculous, not fair. So I left and moved to America. America was kind of half that.
This time, you regret?
Whenever I think of regrets, I think of that French singer. Was it sang? Edith Piaf? Mm-hmm. No regrets. I hear that ringing, and I think she hit it on the head there. I mean, I regret getting married a few times. I think I've been married about 16 times. It was a hobby at one time.